Good afternoons, ladies and peeps. What's up, everybody? I'm here with my one and only Kendra's in the house. Long time no talk.
I know it's been a while, Richard. I'm so happy to be here today.
Oh, of course. You know what? It's been already like 2 months, 3 months, right? Since Staffing World, since we were
Yes,
together for that whole week.
yes. And that was incredible. I mean, it just was so exciting to be part of the hurrah around Staffing World leading up to it. And then to get there and to see everyone, it made it that much sweeter.
And what's great about it, what we're going to tie in today, the power of the community was right there for that whole week.
Yeah, it
It
was.
brought everybody
Definitely.
together. And
Definitely. I think folks appreciate it even more these days. You know what I mean? After coming through COVID and riding the success of those couple of years, and now going through being through the trenches together, I could just really feel that folks are even more grateful and appreciative of the chance to be around their peers and to learn with each other and from each other.
you got it. So today, right before we even started, everybody knows who Kendra is, but you know what? Head of partnerships, lady leader. The one thing I want to talk about is you're the founder, the leader of Women of Color and Staffing. Just give me a minute. I mean, there's so much we can talk about on that on another episode, but give us a little scoop of how you came up with this.
So, this is the brainchild of Delibra Wesley, who many of you know.
Yes.
And she approached me a couple of years ago with this idea. And, it's always scary to create something from scratch, especially something so meaningful. But it was a no-brainer, first of all, because it was Delibra asking, but also because I look around our industry and we have such amazing talent from all walks of life. And then I think about the women of color in our industry, and I just want to keep them here. I want them to understand and see that how powerful our industry is, how they have such viable career paths within, and want to help them build those career paths and build a network and a community that they can grow within and help encourage others as they join staffing.
I love that. And where can they, seriously, if anybody wants to sign up or, people out there to listen and never heard of this, just reach out to you, right?
Yes, please reach out to me any day of the week, day or night. You could text me, email me.
1 a.m., send her an email.
It doesn't matter. But you can also find us online, and that's WOCIS. We affectionately call Women of Color and Staffing WOCUS. So WOCUSstaffing.com or .org, excuse me. So yeah, you can find us, but find us on LinkedIn and, join and attend our events.
Exactly. Okay, so our talk today, let's just dive into the community. I mean, everybody, I think, Kendra, this year, especially in 25, I see a lot of communities, tribes, people are building this because this is what we need to thrive anymore.
So true. Yeah.
So how did you start, just let's go back to the day, to build a community. I mean, talking about networks, right off the bat, let's just dive into this. Everybody says, let's build a network, but is that network working for them? Take us in the steps of how they can progress that into a community.
Yeah. I mean, a community has deeper emotional and social connections, I think, than a network does. Networks are super important. I will stand on that hill and preach that sermon every day of the week. Networks are super, super important because, it really helps you build these connections that give you an opportunity to exchange information, gain referrals, secure new opportunities. It's more transactional, right? And then networks also provide an opportunity for new relationships. Some of them can be superficial, which isn't a bad word, right? It just means that you're not really connected there, or they can be instrumental and really make a difference in your career and your success at whatever company you're at or whatever your role is. Within networks, some of them can be mutually beneficial. But the goal is that they give you a professional advantage, right? At the end of the day, that's what you hope your network does, give you a professional advantage. And because of that, a lot of those relationships are a lot more broad and less intimate. And you hope to have a big, broad network, and that will include just different levels of interaction. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, or we both just want to help people, so I'm going to send them your way, right? And everything in between. When you think about a community, Richard, it's so much more meaningful because the emphasis is more on your shared values, your interests, and your experiences. So people that are in your network can 100% be in your community. I can speak for that myself. They, I have plenty of friends that I now consider friends that still provide me a professional advantage that I still, send referrals to and vice versa. And by the way, if anyone wants to send me some referrals for funding clients, please send them my way. I would really appreciate
Send them her way.
as I speak to my network and my community, because that's the thing about community. It's you think about those relationships and they're so much more personal and supportive, right? Um, you really feel a sense of belonging in this like shared identity. You know that when you can go to them for so much more than something related to your career. And so that's really important, like the depth of those relationships. And finally, like when you think about community as overall, that the nature of it's much more small, like smaller and tightly knit, right? And you're interacting with these folks much more frequently, and it involves a lot deeper levels of trust and support. Well, one thing that's important for me to say here is that even though you're interacting with these folks more frequently, it's not necessarily that this is your friend group that you talk to on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. We're all grown.
Exactly.
A lot of a lot of folks are raising families. I live in the city of Chicago and have an amazing group of friends. I have things to do every week, but you're still intentional about your interactions, and you have so many more reasons to connect with them. You are going to touch base with them more likely on a monthly basis or what have you. There's definitely a difference. I think about it like this. A network is like an address book of contacts, and your community is like a close-knit group of people who are like offering emotional support and shared experiences and just giving you a strong sense of belonging beyond your professional transactions, your professional experience.
You summed that up like just perfect. Seriously, all joking aside. And what I got to say about a community is it could be professional and it also can be on your other side. Like, if you're into fitness or something else, you can build a community that way too. There's so many different ways.
Oh my goodness. Yes. That's it. Shared experiences, shared interests. I mean, it doesn't, your church community, Richard, I know you have a fitness community. I have no doubt. I seen you at Staff and Roll with your sleeveless flannels on. I know you're at the gym.
Hey, by the way, I have sleeves on today. You know that.
Yes, I did. I know.
It's only 5 degrees out here. So.
Well, it's been like as low as -13 here in Chicago. So I'm still in my warm sweaters until further notice.
But yeah, you're right about that. And that's something I think a lot of people need to know, that the community is just not on LinkedIn.
No,
it's everywhere. And I think that's where we have to enforce it. Like that when you join a community, you shouldn't ask for anything. It's about fellowship. Am I right? It's like
that's it. That's it. It's about fellowship, mutual understanding. The asks and the growth come naturally because of the community you're building, right? I think about what we're women of color in staffing and this community that we've built and that we continue to build on. We don't have like many formal asks except to show up and be present and participate, right? Because that's what the understandings and the connections will come from that. When I think about the community that we're building with advanced partners, it goes beyond just having standard strategic partnerships where, you have that like more transactional relationship, or that you're just really wanting to bring more value to your clients, which is what our goal is. It goes beyond that, because even in the 4 or 5 short months that I've been in this role, I've had talked to some of the head of partners at other companies, and we've been coming together to help people find new roles who've been impacted by layoffs. We've come together to help, women who are just starting a staffing firm to figure out their technology, because they came from recruiting in a small firm and they never touched tech before. That's what I hope for. That's what I want, to find those partners who want to do more than, just have a monthly meeting and exchange leads.
Exactly. And I think follow up too. So like attracting, everyone's a build a community this year, you know what I mean? And I think you should tap into somebody else's community first and then grow yours out.
Yes.
How do you attract people to join your community? Because at the end of the day, there's so many out there. They can be confused on where to join. They don't have enough bandwidth in their life. What ideas and strategies can you give somebody?
Well, how can you find the right folks can you attract the right folks? Am I understanding the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think, well, first of all, putting yourself out there, attending meetings you haven't attended before. Um, Being intentional about taking an hour or two a week to discover what's out there. I
Yeah.
mean, I oh my goodness, I feel so strongly about this. You should look around and have a wide range of thought, of experiences, of levels in career, etc., around you, because that's how you're going to grow. I always challenge myself. I'm a Virgo, and I grew up. My mind just naturally thinks about the details. I'm so detail oriented, and I'm checking every comma and period. You wouldn't know that sometimes when I send an email too quickly, but for the most part, I'm very, very particular. And I've had to challenge myself the last 10 years to think bigger and broader. And I have a post-it note right here that says it, bigger and broader. And it's because it applies to all walks of life, including your network and including your community. So, if you may have an incredible church community or incredible mom, dad, parent community at the school, what are you doing to facilitate and create relationships beyond that? And that's just a question you have to ask yourself, and it requires a lot of intention and prioritization, frankly, and being vulnerable. It's super uncomfortable to join a meeting where you're one of few or one of only, or you're the newbie. Like, we all are grown, but at the end of the day, we go back to being that kid, the little kid within us who feels awkward.
Ooh. Really?
Because
Is that a word? I'm Aries, so I guess I just dive right in. You know how Aries are. We're
yeah,
like just
that's true.
hyperactive and
That's true.
stubborn and everything else.
That's true. But come on, Richard, if you were to walk in a room with 150 people you've never met before, there's still that feeling of, "Ooh, all right, let's do this." Like, you
I'll
have
be
to
honest with you, not with me. No, it's like I'm
I
hyped up.
believe
I
that.
love people.
I
I
totally
guess I'm
believe
unique.
that.
I just
But we all
I
can't be
go in.
like,
I want to go like this. Everybody like, what the hell? Who's this guy?
oh, I totally believe
But
this coming
but
from you.
90% of people, you're totally right on that, Kendra. They walk in, um, and they probably just pass you a business card. Hey, what do you do for a living? Like, the common thing is just back and forth. But I think it's simple just to have a basic conversation. Maybe this is something we can deep dive in, that even for sales and recruiting, just chat with somebody
You
and
know
don't
what?
ask for anything in return.
Let me tell you something. One of my dear friends, who is here in Chicago and works with Bullhorn, Brianna Toder. Bree, I'm giving you a shout out here. Bree does something that I absolutely respect and adore. When she sits down with prospects, clients, whoever, colleagues, and she hasn't seen them in some time, she always leans in and asks them, like, what's bringing you joy lately? And it's
Yeah.
such a conversation starter and opener that's not around, what do you do for a living? What are your KPIs or goals this quarter?
Oh,
That we're going to get there. I mean, we're all here for the same reason, to be successful and to bring value to those that we serve. That's going to happen. But
yes.
let's have a conversation too. And it helps you kind of find your people. And I've always respected that about her, and seeing her do it and know that it's so well received. That's just one example of ways you can walk into a room and have a different kind of conversation.
Exactly. And I think, even the community, it should be in person, virtual. Like you said, at the end of the day, it's about you building who you feel trustworthy with. And that takes time. And
It
I think
does.
so many
It's
people build a
not.
community and they're all about I. Can we just say, Kendra, it's about everybody else? Let's put
Yes,
us I away.
that's a fact. That's a fact. It's so true. And the best leaders understand this, right? That the more you think about how you're serving and uplifting those around you, the more successful you will be. That's just how it goes. That's the name of the game. It's a longer game. And sometimes that can be frustrating to watch folks around you win and
Mhm.
knowing that you're giving it your all, but the output is so worth it. So worth it.
Oh,
Just
it's
requires some patience.
fulfillment is the ultimate goal every day. When you go to bed and you have fulfillment, man,
Amen.
it's so beautiful. Okay,
Mhm.
so one thing I got to tell you, and this is one thing, it's a big topic for us in the community, is criticism. Everybody has an opinion these days, Kendra. You know that.
Yeah.
Good or bad. Go through that, because people are going to say, well, I think you should do this, that. How much do you take to heart? Because this is part of the community. You know what I mean? I mean, can you handle criticism, people?
I mean, that really
Go for it.
that requires some self-work. Um, I will say that the first time I got really um, constructive criticism was the first time I was leading a team. I was in my early 20s. I've shared the story before, but I was leading a team and I had asked one of the guys on my team for feedback. And he got really like he kind of clammed up. And I said, "How about this? I'm going to send an ask out to the entire team." It was only four, again,
Mhm.
it's early in my career. And I'm going to send an email out to the entire team asking them for feedback. And then we'll have a conversation. And I can assure you that they all went and had a beer and decided what they were going to bring back to me.
Oh boy.
Yep, and I left that meeting in tears. I didn't, I took it all in. I called my father and I said, "I think my team hates me. I think I'm doing a terrible job." And he said, "Okay, let's back up. Tell me, what you received."
Mhm.
And it was all true. It was all true. I was micromanaging. I was really tough when they made mistakes. Basically, I was projecting how I am internally, like how I was, especially at that point in my life. Really tough on myself, my own worst critic, all of these things. However, they had a lot of great things to say too. They knew that I would fight for them, that I wasn't taking anything from any of my bosses, to stick up for them. And for every piece of criticism they gave me something that I could hang on to, hang my hat on. And so when I hung up with my father, wiped my tears, had a good night's sleep, and a bottle of wine definitely helped with that one. The next day, I
Bottle of
thought,
wine. One glass.
I thought about it and I realized that it was a gift because why was I here? I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to grow my career. And it was the biggest gift they could have given me because I would have never gotten to where I am. I would never be on this call with you, Richard. I would never be doing this live if I hadn't heard that, asked for that feedback, received it, and then pushed myself to be better. That takes work, right? So
Yes.
receiving it takes work, asking for it takes work, but giving constructive criticism takes work too. And I see a lot of new leaders struggle with that. And they have a hard time, having a meaningful conversation um, while still getting their point clearly across. I've seen new leaders get on a call to share some really, really constructive feedback, and the person hang up, and the next conversation I had with them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, my boss called me and told me I was doing a fantastic job." Because they tiptoed around it. You know what I mean? They weren't comfortable giving the feedback, the criticism. So yeah, I think that you got to work on it on both ways. And there's so many articles and books and things around this. So there are no excuses. Like you can read one, maybe it's not the right fit for you, but you'll find the right one for you. And I'll close this with saying that I had a leader that in my last role that gave me the best compliment I had received in a long, long time. And it was that I was so good at receiving and implementing criticism, and she never seen anything like it. And I remember I was sitting there that day, and what she had shared with me wasn't easy. And it was, my forever lesson: done is better than perfect. It was, one of those tough conversations like Kendra, done's better than perfect.
Mhm.
And I really appreciated that. So knowing when your criticism or your feedback's being heard and recognizing that is just a wonderful way for leaders to really bring it home for the people they're wanting to help
You
grow.
s- you summed it up so well. Once again, here we go. But I think it comes down to this: when you're a leader and you're giving criticism, you got to give praise too. You
Amen.
just don't beat
Yeah.
somebody down. It's just
Yeah.
like a dog or a kid. They're going to rebel. They're going to go into a hole, and you're not going to get production out of that person. I'm
That-
sorry, but
That's so
that's
true.
good leaders are ones that praise. A good football coach is somebody that will put you down, say, "Hey, you fumbled that ball. This is why you did it wrong, but this is how you're going to get it next time. You're going to hold it this way. You're going to do this, that." I think that's what leaders are all about, Kendra. The
It's
good
so
leaders there, you need praise in everything you do because everybody has good in them, no matter what.
yeah.
But
No,
we
and
find the faults all the time.
It's true. And research shows this, right? Like our brain remembers negative experiences like critiques much more strongly than compliments.
Yeah.
We have like a
So does the
cognitive
media. So
bias,
does
like
the
all
media
of,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stay off it.
So it's so important. I keep a glimmer journal. And it's those moments where I feel most like myself. And I don't write in it every night. It's just I have it by my bed. And if I had a moment or a day or something that just really tickled me or made me really know I was standing in my strength and my power, I make a note of it. And that's so that when I do get the criticism, because it's coming, y'all. You can't avoid it if you're growing. If you're growing and pushing yourself, it's going to come, even if it comes from someone you least expect, or someone
Or
much
somebody you don't even know. Social media is big for that. Trust me.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
has an opinion these days, so it's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're
Don't get
not
an
trying
argument with them. Don't take it personally. Just
nope.
say, okay. Either say, I'll just avoid that or I'll build on it.
And so, it's important to be able to kind of receive all of that, but also remember who you are and maintain your power.
So, okay, so we talked about that. Let's deep dive in a little bit real quick before we wrap things up of driving the positive change. You said a little bit about that, but is there like, so somebody, let's take it back, say yourself, you did that before. So if somebody like really like bothers you on something, an email or something like that, how does somebody get over that? I mean, they got to read books, they got to do stuff. Is there any techniques that you can give people that maybe that they can thrive on?
Again, the Glimmer Journal is one for me personally.
Okay.
That one has been a game changer. I have a former colleague who keeps a Windex,
Oh,
and it's on her laptop. And when she gets a great job or knows she did a great job or anything, she throws it on one of the slides, and she goes back to that when she's having a really tough day. And really, it's keeping note of your life so that you don't get caught up in that moment. I think that's really important and powerful, that you kind of have that stream of memories jotted down somewhere. And I know a lot of fellas shy away from the word journaling, so you don't have to call it that, but make a note, man. Make a note.
chicken scratch.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, just make a note of it so you remember.
Love it. And last, before we wrap things up, is women, that challenges of them to build a professional community. There is some challenges with that. And I want you to deep dive into that because tell us what your take is, because there's people out there probably listening to this and saying, "This is all great, Kendra. Can you take people in your shoes, Kendra? How you started, like, and overcome some of these fears and other stuff?" We talked about this, but how do you build a strong professional community as a woman?
I would this one we should say for another call, another live, Richard, because
Oh,
we could
okay
dive
then.
into this. I mean, I think so many of our challenges are relative across the board, right? As a woman specifically, we tend to, research shows this, I'm not generalizing, that we tend to believe that if we keep our head down and work hard, that someone will notice and give us that promotion or give us that raise, etc. We have to learn how to champion for ourselves. And that is a muscle. It's a practice like yoga. Someone just reminded me that because I'm terrible at yoga. And there's like, Kendra, it's a practice. You're going to do it your whole life. So is this muscle. You have to practice championing for yourself. And that includes building your own network. And so I would love to build on this and talk about this more, Richard.
Yes.
And dive in on our next live. Yeah.
I love that. So there's the little cliffhanger there. One thing I do got to elaborate at the end. I didn't know you're that detailed, which I can tell everybody now. Every time I send you an email, sometimes I have to change a couple of things. So I now know the details of you. So my emails, when they say ... Kendra, you probably say, "Oh my God, Shark, what are you doing?"
No. But I will always have feedback. I mean,
You do, but it's great feedback. It's great. I'm going to tell everybody. Can I tell everybody? Our shows here, Kendra is so detailed about it, the formats and everything like that, which I love. I mean, you break it down like 1 or 2 pages where it's very detailed. And that's something I think a lot of people, it's a gift that you have.
Well, thank you. It's a gift and it can be a curse because you got to think about the bigger, broader picture. And I try to push myself to do that. And Richard, you are fantastic at that. I mean, that's why you're the visionary behind Staffing Shark, because you can see the big picture and understand the value you're bringing to our industry. And anyone, myself included, who's been a part of this and been able to appear on one of your lives is lucky indeed.
Well, thank you so much. The
Yeah.
heart goes right there for that. But you know what? Okay, so we're out of here for today. Reach out to myself or Kendra because we definitely want to dive into the community with you. I mean, you're not alone. You're with us all the time. We'll be
Yeah.
back in another episode probably within about 3 or 4 weeks.
Let's
So
do it.
stay tuned. And if you guys didn't see this live, check out the replay. Hey, Kendra,
All right.
have a good one.
Bye, Richard. Good seeing you.
See
Hi,
ya.
everyone.